Mr. Zen, thank you for joining
What
me
up,
today, man.
my man, dude? Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
I told Garrett, like both you guys were on my list. Both of you were trainers that like every time I felt like did a workshop or something, you two were interested, you're present, you cared, and then we're constantly applying all the things we talked about. And
For
because of
sure.
that, I always knew that you guys would be awesome guests to have on here. How has the last shit? I mean, it's been coming up on like a year and a half
Yep.
since I think
Yep.
I've seen you face to face,
It's been a minute.
and a
Been a
lot has
minute.
changed in your life.
A lot. Quickly, too. Quickly.
Yeah, what's been going on over that last year?
Man, you know what? I think now I'm kind of figuring out how life is gonna look outside of Equinox.
Mm-hmm.
So the lockdown really opened up my mind since I had so much time. And it was like, okay, how do I make money now? And
Yeah.
so I started to make little investments.
Yep.
I had the unemployment, which was nice. So
Indeed, it was.
I tried to be real smart with those stimmies.
Yep.
I'm like, how do I use these stimmies? I can't spend them on the new Yeezys that I want to get.
Yep.
So I'm like, no more Yeezys, dog. I'm done. So I was really trying to finally establish myself and build some financial security
Mhm.
and some more job security. So I feel like that was really the only option that my mind kind of went to when I didn't have the gym to bring my clients to. So it was like, okay, what's next? And throughout that, I started to put a little bit more attention and money into Instagram and got a videographer and tried to build a following that way, which was successful for a while. Definitely got expensive
Yep.
after a while. So I'm like, all right, back to the phone. But it was really cool. I think this has been probably the biggest growth year of my life,
Yeah.
in my adult life. And so I just feel like I'm in a good space right now as far as branching out and trying to do some different things. So
What does that feel like when because I feel like this is a pivotal moment in any point in the career of an individual who wants to do something entrepreneurial. You get to this spot
right.
where you realize that for you to make any forward progress, you're going to have to double down on yourself with your own money,
For sure.
which is like very different than the corporate structure. It makes sense. So you provide value for a company. The company in return is going to give you something back. They're going to give you
Exactly.
benefits, a place to do your business, liability insurance. They give you a place for your customers to come and enjoy, showers, parking. It's, all these things.
Totally.
What did it feel like when you were like, and to those listening, video, one of the most expensive things that I had no idea about before I started to produce things on my own, the difference between shooting something on your iPhone and getting someone else to shoot it, edit it, produce it, and get it back to you, significantly expensive, more
Yeah.
so than you think. So
You're
what
gonna
did it
spend that
feel like?
stimmy.
Yeah, when you were like, you know what, I'm going to take some of this stimulus check money or money that I have set aside, and I'm going to put it on me.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah. I can say that, right at the beginning, it's definitely kind of nerve wracking. Like you don't know how anything's going to turn out. And I don't know if this is just a personality trait or if it's some of all the experiences I went through. I kind of like betting on myself. I feel like I kind of like it. It was like, yes, at the beginning, like, okay, what do I do next? But I felt like if I was really determined in building a brand, then I was going to make it happen. And that's just kind of how my mind is wired to work now. I don't know if that's from, growing up as an athlete, but it's kind of like make or break for me. So I knew even if I plummeted on the money, I'm like, okay, I'm going to divert and find another way. And so to that avail, it's never like progression is just linear, like with the business, right? Like you always got to kind of figure it out as you go. And I just felt like mentally I kind of prepared myself for that, knowing that it wasn't going to be, candy and sweet and roses the whole time. And, having that mindset before I started to embark on this, entrepreneurial journey was pivotal for me. And so I just felt like I was ready to hit the ground running. So
when you think back to like, you're talking about experiences that help you develop this mindset, because I think you're right 100%. There's like, you either kind of have this development in your head where you're willing to bet on yourself, even in the first place. Most people don't possess that thing. And whether that's developed from athletics or not, like, what were some of those experiences when you were a kid or when you were younger that you think helped shape your mindset so that now, you know, in your 20s, you can make a decision like that and stand by it?
Right. You know what, looking back, you know, Xing out all the athletics and all that, of course that builds character.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest thing was, you know, growing up, I grew up with my mom, her sister, my grandmother. So I was raised by basically all women.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's boyfriends were all terrible. So me and my brothers got a different dad. He wasn't the best person ever, and so I kind of grew up without a male figure in the house. And I think pretty early on, I figured out that I was the man of the house. And so I think from a young age, it was, all right, how do I, you know, get to a point in my life where I can take care of these women that have taken care of me?
Right.
And so that's a strong personality trait to adapt pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think having that willingness to figure out a way to make things happen, especially in a family like that, and not really having anyone to look up to, was the confidence had to be breeded from me. And so I started to develop, you know, my own self-confidence and belief. And, you know, my mother did help me out with that, and, you know, having what she instilled in me as well. But I think it definitely stemmed from not having a male figure in the house, and kind of figuring out early on that I was going to have to be the man. And I think that's kind of trickled on to all the other stuff I'm doing today. So
how does that make you want to be? I mean, this is getting, you know, way ahead, but how does that make you think about being like a father, being someone who potentially has the opportunity to be that person in someone's life, knowing that on one side of it, you've become this amazing person as a result of your upbringing, right?
Totally.
Where do you see, how do you want to, what values do you want to instill, and how present do you want to be in the life of someone else in the future? Thinking back on those times.
Yeah, super present. Thankfully, I got a dog through COVID.
Best thing, dude.
Literally feel like it's prepping me for fatherhood. Not even kidding. Like, I'm like, dude. So I thought it was just gonna be super sweet, and, you know, he's the cutest dog. Like, he's literally, he's right here.
Oh, he's number one, dude.
Man, he's the sweetest dog. But this is a different level of patience that I didn't know, and like learning the responsibility. And so, you know, I can say all these things that sound good, like, right, I want to be extremely present in my kid's life, you know, build character early on, teach them things that, you know, I didn't have a male figure to teach me early on. And so if I can show them things like that, and show them hard work, dedication, and how that kind of looks like, and, you know, telling them my story as they get older, I think that'll be a cool thing to see, you know, kind of my drive instilled in them. But I gotta say, dude, the dog was like a realization for me. I'm like, oh, this is different, dog.
It's so different. Weird. Like when you're talking with someone and you make the comparison of children to dogs, it kind of sounds stupid, because you're like, hey man, we're talking about people here, right? But on the same token, when I got Odin, I was like, I'm gonna get a fucking dog. It's gonna be great. Chill. Like, dogs are so cool. They're just the best. I mean, straight up worst 3 months of my life ever. They were actually the worst, dude.
Tough.
Like, patience, waking my ass up in the middle of the night. You obviously can't talk to them, so you have no idea what they want. You don't know what they need. It parallels to a kid, right? They're not communicating yet. They're just going to the bathroom in their pants, and they're whining. And I was like, man, I'm so glad that I got this now to at least try and figure out, you know, how to take care of something.
I feel you on a spiritual level, like, straight up, like, I already know.
And I mean, all jokes aside, to someone in a position, this is not like to empathize at all with people that leave their families, but you can see where along the line the train falls off the rails, because the demands that having a child places on your life, it's a very different situation overnight.
Oh, totally.
And I feel like that in and of itself, you need some mental fortitude and partnership and teamwork to be able to like, come together and stick it out through the tough parts there.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, yeah, I think you hit it right there on the head. I think I've been able to build up a lot of that, just trying to build some mental endurance, not break down just because of the circumstances. Like try to absorb the circumstance. And yes, a lot of them suck sometimes, but just knowing that I can come out on top and that's kind of how I try to think about everything now, whether it's business or, relationship stuff comes up, stuff with the dog, he's got to go to the vet. Now he's got the flu. Now he's got this. And so it just fucking piles up and piles up and piles up. And so I always go back to that, what I say on every caption. I'm like, keep it zen. Just try to stay in the middle and don't get too high, don't get too low about it. Just try to maintain a good balance. So
where did that come from? So you're Justin Turner, for those that don't know, right?
I'm gonna put an asterisk. Julian Turner.
Julian, damn, sorry.
That was close.
I was like, I knew the
Turner. You've only known me as JT, so
right.
That's fair.
So it was a guess. All right, failure to do research. Julian Turner.
Yes, sir.
Where does the Zen part? At what point does Zen come into your life? Because that's your thing. It's been your thing as long as I've known you, and I've known you now for the better part of 4 years. So like, when did? Because that's a name switch, obviously, is like an identification, but that's a mental shift for sure.
More of the mental shift more than anything.
So who were you before that? What happened, and when did you change up here?
So before I even brought this whole Zen thing into an idea, before this, I only identified myself, and this is how I thought about myself every single day from 5th grade to basically my senior year in college, as an NFL football player. I'm like, only that. Like there was no like, once I get driven on something, I'm driven on it. Like I won't switch and change lanes. I'm like, this is my lane. And so, I put all my energy into that, I put my soul into that, my spirit into that. And that's what I truly believed like I was destined to do. And so when that comes to a fault, like a lot of athletes that want to go to the league, there's not that many players in the league. And so you gotta have a lot of stuff lined up for you. You got to be crazy talented. Your body has to be able to endure, all the tackling, all the hitting. So there's a lot of different factors. And, my college career was rough. And so I went to a junior college first, my first 2 years, played pretty well, but kind of fucked up on school. Wasn't going to class and whatnot. I seen some of the D1 bounce backs not going to class. And so I started hanging out with them and not knowing that they already had scholarships to other places. And I'm like, I'm with the big dogs. Like, I don't care. Like, this and that. I was getting recruited and doing well and finally put on some weight. To give you perspective, my freshman year of college football, I weighed 190 pounds. When I met you at Equinox, I was about 260. So I was a big dude. My senior year in college, I graduated at 280. So I put on a whole lot of weight. I was a big dude.
But what are you now? I mean, I was going to ask you about this later because you've obviously gone through like quite the fucking transformation. But from when I met you, 260, you're what? 220? 210. Okay.
Yeah.
So even in that time frame, lost 50 pounds. And you were a big fucking dude when you got to Equinox. So you were a big dude.
I was even bigger than that. Yeah. I was even bigger than when you saw me. And so I think overall, I probably got a little bit too big. Basically, I was like the different skeletal types. I was like this skinny, what's that, ectomorph or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we'll go with that. I was like the skinniest frame. And then I basically jumped to like the biggest frame. And I think my joints and tendons were just couldn't really handle that weight. I felt my best around 240, 250, but whatever. I put on some extra weight and, went through 3 knee surgeries and just all the stuff, and, all the injuries that come with it. And I couldn't really just shake back and become the player I once was. And, I had some opportunities to go overseas and go to Amsterdam, and it just didn't really sound that exciting to me anymore.
Yeah.
And, I'm grateful that I did have a full scholarship. I went to Minnesota State, in Moorhead, which is a Division II, way up by Fargo. It's fucking freezing up there, but thank God. I graduated with my degree in exercise science. I double minored in coaching and strength conditioning, so all that was great. So after that, I kind of wrote off football. I'm like, all right, next chapter. And I did know that I wanted to go into coaching in some regard. I didn't know if it'd be all physical, because I really did like the working out aspect.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if I was going to do that, if I was going to go to become a GA. And so I decided I wanted to be a trainer. That was the time right after I graduated. I was like, I like the one-on-one. Like, I work with some athletes one-on-one, different ages. And for 6 months in Minnesota, I couldn't get a job. Not even. It was like I had all these interviews lined up, and I'd go in and they'd be like, okay, we'll give you a call. And never heard back, basically from anywhere.
And you were, so at this point, you were looking for like anything. You weren't necessarily looking for something in the training realm. It was just kind of like, I need work. I'm done with football.
Yes. It was like that. And, I lived with a girlfriend at the time, and she was paying all the bills. My mom was sending me money to pay all the bills. And it was just a rough patch. And so, all this confidence that I built up about myself, and I'm an NFL player, all that, it plummeted. It was like the fucking stock market crash. It was like, I'm all the way up, and then now I'm like trending way down. And so it was like day to day, I can feel like my spirit like getting smaller and smaller, and like all that built up, aggression and determination to get stuff done. I lost it all for a little period of time. And, I smoked weed every day during this time, basically drank 5 times a week, a whole lot. And I try to mask everything, going out to the bars and doing X, Y, and Z and fucking around. And I hit basically the darkest point of my life, where I was like, I don't know what I want to do anymore. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be a rapper. Like, it was like, I don't know what, should I rap about the struggle? Like, I didn't know what was next. And so
we could be an island boy.
Dog, literally, I'm about to just grow the dreads out, like just be walking around.
I am too. I'm like, these motherfuckers, dude. Get rid of those guys. Get them out of here. That's not talent, dude. That's the furthest thing from. You know what? I might even edit that out. We're not giving those dudes time of day.
Nah, they don't get none of this. They don't get none of the Zen time. Yeah, fuck them.
So you basically, you get to this point where you have to have a mental shift to get to the next level, basically.
To get just to my normal state. Like, it was like, I'm not even myself anymore.
Yeah.
And, I was smoking and my receptors were all off. I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck's going on anymore. And so I was really unhappy in that relationship, and everything was just on the downward spiral. And I had to basically make the decision to fight my way out of that. I knew that was going to be the only way. And so one day I literally was like, I Googled like how to find inner peace. I'm not even kidding. This is true.
Damn.
I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, nothing was making me happy. I was extremely depressed. And I kept coming across the word Zen, and it just, something about it spoke to me. I got into meditation. I came across like Wim Hof and like some different guys. Started doing some meditation. I'm like, okay, this feels kind of good. And mind you, while I'm smoking and drinking, I wasn't really working out. It was like I'd work out maybe a couple times a week, just try to lift all the weights for my ego. Nothing was really happening, just ridiculous. And I started meditating first. I started meditating, and that wasn't even really, I'm gonna make it sound like it's easier. That wasn't even easy. It was like I tried to like sit there and stay peaceful with my thoughts, and that was even hard. And so every day I'm like, I'm gonna get up, and I started to make a routine out of it. I was like, I'm gonna meditate every day for 10 minutes in the morning. I started doing that once again. And so I accumulated 2 weeks. I remember I have a notes in my Apple. I got 2 weeks done. And I finally was like, okay, like, what do I want to do next? And thankfully for me, I feel extremely lucky that this happened. During this time, my mom decided to move to LA. Mm-hmm. So her best friend, my godmother, Brooklyn, she was urging my mom to come out, and my mom was, you know, kind of hesitant, as most people are going to LA. Like, shit, it's expensive. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I got 3 kids and XYZ, and you know, she pulled the trigger. And next was for me. So they're like, well, you got nothing going on up there. You might as well move in here. And I'm too stubborn, and so I try to go another 3 months. I'm like, no, I got it. Like, you don't got to take care of me. I got it. Like, maybe that was just me growing up. I'm like, I can do it. No, I couldn't do it. Nothing.
Yeah, dude. Yo, that's real.
Changed.
Recognize that shit, right? Sometimes you gotta know when to shut it down.
Literally. So I had shut down the ego. I'm like, okay, shut up. So she finally convinced me to move out. I'm in this relationship with my girlfriend at the time. And it was like a rough decision. It was like, do I stay with her and try to make it happen in Minnesota, or do I jump the country, move in with my mom, and see if I can make something happen out there? So even that was a hard decision to find peace with. And so I had to meditate on that. I'm like, am I going to sacrifice this and jump across the country? And so, you know, it literally felt like that was the only choice I had at the time. So it was kind of like the road closing. It was like, okay, make a decision. Right. So flew out to LA and moved in with my mom. And my first thing was to interview at Equinox. My mom was actually friends with Sarah before. So they're like, oh, you should go apply to Equinox's.
Shout out Sarah, by the way, real quick.
Shout out Sarah, dog.
Dude, yo, you're on the weight loss? Are you kidding me? Hell yeah, Sarah.
Yo, Sarah killed it for real, though.
I was like, I saw that. I saw a picture of her and I was like, oh my God, you fucking kick ass. That's incredible. That's hard work, man.
That was true hard work. That was true dedication.
That's huge.
Yeah, she started coming in, and it felt like every time I see her, like a new layer was off. I'm like, how much weight are you losing? You're killing it.
So awesome.
Yeah, she killed it for real. But yeah, basically, my mom lives in Hawthorne, and so there's Equinox South Bay, which is right down the street. I didn't have a car or anything, so I'm like, all right, this is the easiest location to get to. And you know, I went there, applied there. Paul was the manager there at the time.
Yep.
And it was me and this other guy, really, really cool other trainer. And I thought the interview was great. I was like, okay, that was cool. Like, I really like here. It was my first Equinox I ever walked into. So I'm like, this is dope. Like, I would love to train here. Didn't get the job there. I'm like, okay, it's a little discouraging. And then I literally applied at Santa Monica. It didn't even help that I knew Sarah. Like, she literally was like, okay, you got to earn the job. Like, can't really give you the job. And so here I am, you know, trying to build my ego back up, build my confidence back up. I come in there with a baggy freaking suit on with the shades on.
That's like how not to do an interview 101.
How not to do it. Yeah, exactly. So I walk into Equinox Santa Monica. You know how the energy is in there. I walk in there.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm here for an interview. My glasses on, and I saw everyone judging me like, who the fuck is this guy? I think he is. I'm like, whatever. So I walk in, sit on the couch, meet Annie and everybody. It was Annie, Chris, Courtney was in there. And so we got like an early vibe going. I was like, all right, this one feels even more natural than the last one. And one thing led to another. And I would say about a month and a half from moving in with my mom, got the job there. And I'm still there. So it's been 3.5 years since. And that's when I ran into you. And then everything
got passed up on too. I did my I did my interview, and then I got one call that said, hey, thanks, but no thanks. And then I got another call from the manager, actually below that manager, who this was the old Sarah, old Sarah,
right,
was like, nah. And then above that, my manager called me and was like, hey, you got to come in. It doesn't matter what they say. You need to come back in for your practical. And I ended up then training the dude that passed on me, which I thought was hilarious.
He ended up being your client?
No, yeah. He passed on me in the interview. If David Toogood, if you're listening, this is like my favorite story. He passed on me in the interview. And I wasn't wearing a baggy suit and shades. Like, I came in normal, ready for an interview.
Yeah, you came in ready.
And then the GM called me and was like, hey, like, you're going to do well here. You need to come in. Don't forget about that. Like, come in for the practical. I'll talk to him after the practical. And then like 3 months in, he just walked up to me, and this is how David would work. He just walked right up to me after my session. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing on Tuesday and Thursday next week?" And I was like, what time? He's like 8, 9. And I was like, I got open. He's like, cool, book me for the next 3 months. And I was like, yep, 100%. And then I walked away. I was like, the fuck is that? Like, you passed on me and now you want to train with me. But
yeah, exactly.
It's funny how things like that work out. I mean, nothing is more true in business and life. Like, things are gonna go your way and they're not. But if you get derailed by the little shit, so if you had gone in there, got passed, and we're like, screw this, I'm going back to Minnesota, dude, that could have sucked.
Happened. Yeah, man, I don't even want to know what would have. It would have just been,
but you
it would have
didn't.
been all bad. Exactly.
You move forward, and then now look, I mean, 3 years later, one of the top trainers there. You've got an awesome, not only business. I think is one thing that I've always appreciated is you have your business inside of the gym, but you also do other things, and you're creative, and you're making, a brand of yourself, which I think personally is a really smart thing to do as a trainer, especially now. Like, if you don't have some sort of brand associated with you, it's going to be very hard for people to differentiate you versus someone else.
For sure.
And you stylistically have a very unique approach, which is interesting because you come from a football background. So you would think that it's just like deadlifts and squats and power cleans, but it's not. I mean, how did you end up? Yeah, right. Used to be, but how did you evolve past that? Like, when did you find yourself more interested in movements and kind of like some of these like maces and kettlebells, but not even kettlebells the way that you would traditionally use them. Kettlebells JT's way. Like, damn, what's that guy doing? I think he's gonna hurt himself. And then lo and behold, you're not. You're getting stronger. You're in better shape, faster. You're seeing progress. Like, how did that all come about? Because it's such a unique. Like, I honestly don't even know where do you read about that even?
Right. You're like, where did you get all this shit?
Yeah, it's like, dude, I don't think this guy's okay. He's like, he's gonna hit someone in the face. But yeah, I mean, how do you come across that?
Yeah, I think so. I got to give Equinox. I definitely got to give them credit for this, and having some of the certifications be really affordable. You remember how you guys used to have the Rampers kettlebell things outside? Remember, right on the rooftop? It was like
where we would instruct.
Yes, where the trainers would instruct.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever picked up a kettlebell. Like, I hadn't literally been like, the fuck is this? And so I remember Courtney, Jarrell, you were one of the teachers a couple times. And I don't know if you remember how shitty I was. Like, I couldn't hold that freaking weight. My bicep was like touching my ear at the time. Like, I was just fucking huge.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about
I'm like, I don't know why you guys, super non-mobile. I'm like, I don't know why you guys like this shit. This shit sucks. And, I think I got to Equinox. I kept doing my own style of training, which was all football oriented, kind of like how you mentioned. And I got kind of bored with it, to be honest. Like, since I wasn't competing anymore, I'm like, I don't really need to squat 400 pounds anymore. Like, what's the point of this? And so I think having you guys introduce me to that and, going to some of those things and realizing like, wow, there's a lot of different ways to move that I had no idea about. Watching you and there's another trainer, Mac.
Yep.
Watching you guys train, I'm like, oh, they're doing some like different shit that I wouldn't even think about, which is, a really functional approach, understanding the body on a greater level, working some different unilateral concepts, all that stuff. And I took kettlebell level 1 through Equinox.
Yep.
I got the basics down, finally learned how to swing without hurting my back, learned how to get a decent front rack position. And, I did grow up as a 3-sport athlete. So I played football, but I also did basketball and track.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 3 different ways to move the body. And so I had all these different warm-ups, all these different mobility things. And once I learned how to hold the kettlebell, I'm like, oh, I can get into all these positions with the bell now and create some stability that way. And that's kind of like where all the flow stuff started. Like, I was like, okay, I can do this starting position, use this, stretch here, go onto the legs. There was a couple inspos online that I should shout out. One being Marcus Martinez, who's like head program director for Kettlebell Kings. So shout out my boy Marcus. He was the first page where I saw kettlebell flow, and I'm like, oh shit, this looks kind of like a dance, but it was interesting. It was like a lunge to a press.
You got to explain this shit to me, because if I'm just gonna be like totally real. I see this stuff and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah,
one,
totally.
Two, this person is fine. Someone has tried this, they're totally just gonna get hurt. They like kettlebells totally. Flipping around 15 times, you're gonna miss the handle, it's gonna break your toe. Yeah. And then two, from like a coaching side, I'm like, what's the perceived outcome that these people are going after? I don't really understand it. So you being someone who like does get it, who implements these practices, what is the whole idea behind these kettlebell flows? And there's obviously very sought after, credible people that do them. And then I'm sure, like with anything, there's idiots that do it. So
for sure.
Like, what's the idea behind this stuff?
I'm gonna divide juggling from kettlebell flow, because juggling is its own entity. That is not that's not really something I do with any of my clients. I've had one guy that we just played around in the grass with like a 12 kg, just like fucking around.
Grown ass adults, grown ass adult dudes just playing around in the grass, man.
Throwing iron weights around.
I wanted to be a football player, but no, I think this is what I'm gonna do.
Oh, dog, the biggest 360 possible. I've only had one client that I've been like, let's just play around with this, because he got the basics down really well. And so the whole idea of flow and why I think it's super effective is, one, it's time effective for the hour that I get with my clients, and the amount of strength, conditioning, and mobility throughout these little complexes that you can get in a 1 minute flow is ridiculous. And so,
and again, you're separating, sorry to interrupt, but you're separating purposely the crazy spin around through the legs, upside down shit. That's actually something that's called juggling.
That's more like juggle and play, but kettlebell flow is like something that I do use with a lot of my clients.
Right. And this is the one, like, you put up a post the other day that I thought was really cool. It's like one of those, like, how I don't even know how to say it, how it started, how it's going kind of thing.
Oh, the progression thing. Yeah.
But in the post that you put up, it's very clear that like the movement patterns that you're utilizing, you are beginning to master, right? So you have this video in the beginning. For those that don't know, JT's doing a flow like with the bell in the video, but it's the same flow, what, a year apart?
Yeah, about 2 years apart. Yeah.
And one of them looks like you're trying to explore a movement pattern, and one of them looks like you could teach the class on how to do the movement pattern.
Totally can. Yeah, totally.
So you are acquiring a skill through doing this.
Yeah.
And you're going, they talk about like stages of learning, from like cognition to it being autonomous, right? You're going along that scale.
For sure.
You could probably do it with a heavier kettlebell now than you could then.
Oh, much heavier.
So that shows progress in the right ways.
For sure. And so you took, you're strong first level 2 or strong first 1?
Kettlebells athletics. I did the same as you.
Oh, kettlebell athletic. Okay. So you were obviously way ahead of me when I started with kettlebells. But you had more of a strong approach. Like, I'm going to use it. Am I wrong?
No, I know what you're saying. Like more like the hard style kind of. Yes. Yeah. So that was trainer that was there when I started, Michael Prieto.
Okay.
I did the certification. I learned everything from Michael, from Matt, and from Mac. That's like, that's where I learned, if I'm being honest, kettlebells. And they were all, Matt and Michael were more from like the hard style RKC, Paolo Tsatsouline style. And so that's where I picked it up from. So you are right in that. Yeah.
Totally. And so with that style, we know that you get amazing results with that in regards to strength, maybe ballistics, with the swings, and you can get really athletic just doing the hard style. And so what flow does is it gives you an opportunity to maybe not have to move that heavy of a weight, but since we're doing so many repetitions within a 1 minute time frame, or however long, I can say, okay, we're going to go into a dead start clean. So I'm getting power from the ground vertically, using my hips. We're going to go into a reverse lunge, and we're going to go into a side bend windmill. So then we get overhead stability, and we're back up, and then we switch legs. So there's so many like different little components that we're going to get within just such a little block of movement. And right. So it's made the 1 hour sessions with my clients, in my eyes, much more valuable, because we get to work so many different things. And the only thing I feel like I don't use kettlebells for is just overall hypertrophy. Like obviously on the legs and hamstrings and glutes, you get a pretty significant gain. But
right.
If somebody comes with me to the goal, like I want to get a big upper body, probably not going to do a ton of kettlebell stuff, but literally everything else. So strength, conditioning, mobility, core stability, ballistic strength. I can get all that in one flow sequence.
So when you're talking,
which I thought is the coolest.
It sounds like with the flows, you're kind of talking about flow being that you're linking otherwise individual strength movements. So if you do like a static clean, secure the position, step back lunge, secure the stand, overhead press or windmill press.
Yeah.
Down into a swing. So the flow is that you're linking seamlessly multiple individual strength movements together. And then to your point, you increase the total, like you increase the volume relative to the time that you have to train them. So you take a client who maybe shows up late or something and has, you only get 50 minutes with them, but in that 50 minutes, you end up accomplishing, 90 to 100 reps. Whereas otherwise,
so much volume.
So do you, if you get so let's say you take on like a new client, do you spend a good portion of time first just establishing principles before you take them into a flow?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So if they don't have like a rack position.
Yeah, we can't, it's not that we can't flow, but I do, any of my clients that are going to listen to this, they know I'm going to say, we can't flow until you can hold the kettlebell right here. And so
I love that thing, because I remember that specific day when we were doing the instruction outside.
You remember?
And you had that busted wrist way over here.
So fun.
And I was like, nah, dude. And it was, maybe 12 kilos, which was hilarious because looking at you, you could have crushed the kettlebell. Like just, you were like huge, but the mobility was the missing component. And then just like the fine tuning of the position. Totally. But, so did you, you've made a huge transformation in yourself over the past 3-4 years, right?
Yeah, roughly about 3 years. Yeah.
What changed for you from, we obviously know that when you're at 280, you're trying to make, a pro team and in your head it's NFL, just consumption has to be a key component of that. Like you just have to be consuming an insane amount of food
just to maintain, it was 4,000 damn near. Because we got to run and condition and
twice a day.
Exactly. The 2 a days. And so just to maintain what I had in strength was about 4,000 consumed. That's like on the low end.
Food,
that's on the low end too. Like I've been way over that. Kind of loosely tracking, not like tracking it to the point, but I could go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I could take down 50 of them things, dude. Like, it was like I got this.
What though? Gun to my head, I hit that. I think I would do that no problem. If you were really like I would put away I won a hot dog eating contest in high school once. It was disgusting, dude.
Oh my God.
I ate, what was it? First off, I got chanted. It was during Spirit Week, senior year. And I got chanted by the whole senior class because into the competition, because we didn't have one representing us. Right. So I get there and I ate 8 hot dogs and 4 buns in 2 minutes.
Oh, fuck out of it. At 280, I don't even think I could do that.
I was soaking wet. I was like 155. It was disgusting.
My God. Oh, dude. Yeah. I would have threw up.
So I welcome 50 Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, dog. So we're gonna do that next time we link.
Okay.
We're going straight to
There's got to be some. I need some motivation. There's got to be like some money on the line or something. Or
you're right.
I would be comatose after that.
I'll send you some Shiba coin.
There we go. Yeah, please. Thank you. So okay, yeah, now deal there. I'll fly anywhere now. No, but on a serious note,
Yeah.
what was it that changed? Because when you got to Equinox, like it wasn't like you weren't training consistently. You were
Right.
training all the time. You were like, and any of us that were there, we're all training 24/7.
Stuck in there.
But I don't feel like you made tons of like physical progress until the last like 2 years, year and a half.
Sure.
What
For
happened?
sure.
Because it was crazy. Now you're
was
like a fucking monster, a Greek god,
there.
and
Now I'm doing some
you
different
move
shit.
like wildly different. I mean, your
Yeah.
movement patterns are insanely different than they were
Yeah.
previous. So
Yeah, totally. I think there was a period where I literally I started really getting into kettlebells and, you know, seeing some more guys online. I'm like, all right, like started to get the hang of it. And I literally was like, I'm going to put the barbell down. Like, I'm not even going to think about doing a back squat, not a bench, none of that. And not even just for me, it was like for business purposes. Like, I should probably learn as much as I can so I can be prepared when I get a client with a double hip replacement or this guy with a broken ankle. Like, so that was actually the first shift. It was like, okay, I want to learn all this so I can be a little bit more prepared, take on some different demographics. And so through that movement exploration, there was a big ugly phase. And to your point, you know, everyone's looking over like, the fuck kind of movements are these? And it was me just exploring different ways to move my body. And I had some proprioception, you know, from being an athlete and moving in space. And I was like, how can I manipulate this resistance in different ways and move in different ways? And so I just put a lot of energy and time into practicing and doing some different stuff and really mobilizing myself. Yeah. And, you know, throughout the process, just really just trying to be myself, because I was like, I know I'm going to get judged for doing all this. And I was fine with that. I was like, I'm just going to be myself and see where I can take this thing and develop my own style that I'm not really seeing online all that much. Now there's a ton of great kettlebell people that I follow. Yeah. And, you know, we all relate to each other, which I think is cool. There's like a big kettlebell community online that I had no idea about. Yeah. And, dude, you got to check out New York has the craziest kettlebell scene.
Well, there's this guy used to be a trainer at Equinox. I think his name's Crown Vic.
Okay.
I think his name's Crown Vic. And then him and I'm going to
familiar.
butcher all these names, but Kettlebell. So they like meet up at like basketball courts and they got a big banner. What's that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Kettlebell,
that's they got I know they got
have a clothing company things. And
yeah, they got Kettlebell Games apparel. Yep. They got a bunch of different.
This is exactly stuff. What I'm talking about. Yeah, that whole group of people.
Dude, they got that group. They got another group. This other chick I follow. They all meet up on Sunday. They got like Sunday swing set up, and it's just such like a big community now. And I somehow submerged, you know, through all the stuff I do with the bells. I've got into this online kettlebell community, which is really just so dope. Like, honestly, I think it's like the coolest thing ever.
So when are you moving to New York?
I know, right? No, literally. I was just talking to my buddy. Do you follow Cameron Harn? He's
I think he's in LA though, right?
Yeah, he's over here. Yep. Yeah, he's in I'm gonna butcher it, Cam, if you're watching. I think you're in Sawtell or something like that. You're close, man. You're not far. But me and him were talking about, you know, developing like a West Side kettlebell thing.
Oh, that'd be rad.
That inspiration it's from New York. Like, I'm like, they got this huge group of people doing this, and so I think it'd be super dope to start teaching some flows over here. Because
I mean, we love the storyline, right? Who doesn't love an East Coast West Coast storyline?
Dog,
no one's representing out here.
We gotta have a Tupac Biggie fucking battle with the bells, the battles of the flows. We gotta do something crazy. But
it is wild how, like, I mean, running did this, right? Like, running has birthed all these small run clubs and underground running communities and stuff like that people get really very bought into. I mean, it becomes not only like a habit thing for them throughout the week, but it's a community to identify with, to share like-mindedness with. And it was interesting. I can only speak to the kettlebell community just from like the kettlebell workout videos thing that started during started during COVID and exploded.
Killing it. Yeah.
I don't even know who started that, but I know that they have to have been like an Equinox employee or something
something. Yeah, I don't know who runs that page, but
But they
they got
exploded.
everybody's on there. And so that's kind of like to my point. Like I started posting more of my stuff online and people really liked it. And I'm like, wow. And then I discovered that it's a whole world online of kettlebells. And so
well, this
kind
brings
of in the mix of that now, which is cool.
Brings us to a perfect segue that you just launched your own website.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When did this start? Like, yeah, when did you think that you were going to start doing this? When did you invest in the design?
Yeah.
Obviously, having just launched a website myself this last year, there's a lot that goes into it. Totally. And everything that you want it to be one way, and then it comes out, and then you realize that you actually want it to be a different way, or you want this to change or that. So like, when did you start thinking that you were going to go that route? How did that all come about?
I think so kind of what I was talking about before, my energy first went to building out really enticing content to like get people to be like, oh, what is this? And so the investment with the videographer definitely did that. And that was cool. And, I'm more than just a cool looking dude on Instagram. And so I'm like, dog, I'm not just a kettlebell guy.
Yeah, I'm not just a dude.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm not just one of these influencers out here. Like I really do this in real life. And so I tried to then think about what's next for me. And, I'm not going to be at Equinox my whole life. And so my next thing was, okay, like, how do I start scaling a business outside of here? And for me, next was the website. And so I got a really, really lucky segue for me to get to him. And so my dog, we gave out the breeder's information to a bunch of people. And Zeus is my dog, his brother's dad. So we end up linking with them. We got the dogs to play. And we're all chatting. He's like, oh, yeah. So by the way, I'm a website designer. I'm like, no fucking way. So it was like light bulb went off. Yeah. And, a website's not cheap either, especially when you want it to look good. And so I kept diverting. So I knew I wanted to do it now for, I got to say, like at least 6 months, 5 months. But I finally got all the finances lined up and I'm like, all right, I'm ready. And so we got it launched and it was, the process of it actually wasn't all that hard, which was surprising. He did a really good job designing it, and I feel like capturing kind of who I am with some of the photos we picked and the bio. And so it really wasn't all that hard to get the website up and going. But now I'm realizing that this is a new business now. Like it's not just because I have a couple followers on Instagram doesn't mean that it's going to scale my website to blow up. And so I'm now realizing that it's only been up for 3 days. So it's pretty new.
Yeah. Give yourself some time.
Yeah, exactly. But even then now I'm like, okay, like I know I got to work hard to grow this side. And so I'm going to start putting some more energy into that. And I don't know where that puts me in regards to my timeline at Equinox and kind of what that looks like. But that's kind of where my energy is going now too.
What did, when you decided you were going to go in on this website and like,
yeah,
because like you said, if you go the Squarespace route or like the Wix route, it's very clean cut. It's going to be whatever, a couple $100 and you get to design the thing yourself. And it's going to look like it was designed on Squarespace and it's going to look like it was designed like that. So when you really decide, like, I want this to be above just the status quo on the design front, and then to the functionality, like when someone goes to your website, you want it to feel like they are experiencing an extension of who you are or who you perceive yourself as. And that becomes tough when you're on something that's template based. So when you go with someone who's private, it's much different because now you can talk to them about like, hey, this is my kind of like what I want to come through. This is the feel. No, it needs to be like this, or you can talk with them about the process. But to your point, it's not cheap, man. It's like when you go, you want private training, it's a lot different than signing up for ClassPass, right? It's just different. You get a different product, but it's a different cost. What did it feel like when you clicked like send or deposit, or you wrote the check for that like investment in you via this web designer?
It was honestly, it was very liberating because I think a lot of us, we come up with an awesome idea and we jot it down, and then when it comes to fruition, it's really exciting that you finally took a step. I know for me personally, when I got a lot of stuff built up that I want to do, I find myself actually a bit anxious about getting it done. Yep. And even though I try to stay calm about it, inside I'm like feeling like maybe I'm failing or not getting stuff done. That's just kind of how my brain works. And so to finally send him the money and be like, all right, let's get the process started, was like very exciting. And so just having our first conversations, I'm like, all right, let's just get something up and kind of edit from there. And so that's kind of also my thought process is I didn't want to go in hypercritical of everything. So it was like, all right, let's get this up. Let's pick the colors. Let's get some photos on there and see how it looks. But the idea of just having something started gives me peace to know that, all right, I'm doing something in the direction. And so once I found like a little bit of calmness about it, then it was really easy. And so I think for me, I just got to get started on something, and then from there, I can kind of navigate what to do. But if I don't get started on it, then that's where all the inner chaos comes from, and resentment towards things. And I'm like, oh, I gotta walk the dog right now. Like I'm trying to,
it's interesting.
Like
with with the website thing, because I went back and forth like you for a long time. I was like really hesitant on clicking go and like really green lighting the design on this thing and investing financially, because I'm like, okay, here's this chunk of money. I could put it in the market. I could invest it. I could do smart things, safe things with it, or I could put it on me. And like going back to the athlete mindset, like if I'm going to bet on anyone, I'm betting on myself 100%, and I'll do it 10 out of 10 days. It just doesn't matter. I'm going to do that. And so it took a while for me to get to that spot where I was like, okay. But once you do, the cool thing is up until that point, like up until the point that you launched your website, the money that's in your life, whatever those finances are that you're like culminating to then put towards this thing, in the past, they would go out of your life. Like you go party, right?
True.
You're at the bar, you want to be cool, you buy your friends drink, your girl drink, and everything. And like, or you go do this experience or that experience. And it's just money going out, money going out, money going out. Now that you have this thing, this site, even if it's only, even if nobody does anything with it for the first 8 months, and then one person does, or two people do, you now have the first two members of your community, of JT's community, like your thing. And all that money that was flying around fucking doing nothing, you can start to invest into these people. And when you start to do that, it's insane, man. They become the driving force behind what you do and how you do it. And then everything that you make goes right back to them. And that creates this growth. And so you go back to that point where you weren't sure. And it's like, no step is more valuable than that moment that you click send, or that moment that
absolutely,
you go.
Man, I couldn't relate more. That's exactly what I felt. It was like so much hesitancy. And then once I made the decision, it was like, oh, I finally did it. Whereas it makes you think about all the ideas, we come up with all these reasons why it shouldn't work for no reason. Like why so much self-doubt? And, once you take the first step, it's like you get a whole new perspective. And so I can relate 100%.
It's funny when, before you do something like this, right, in your life, you have an idea and you're like, oh man, I got this dope idea. This is going to be like the thing. And someone's like, oh, what is it? And you're like, just the fuck I'm going to tell you, because you're going to steal it and go do it. Right. That's like how you think. It's like, I don't want to tell it. This website's going to change the game. Exactly. And so you don't want to tell anyone. And then you realize like it takes so much hard work after that thing is real. Exactly. Elon Musk, great example, right? It's Tesla, bankrupt at one point, almost bankrupt. Yes. And now look at him.
Exactly.
Tesla's worth more than the next 9 car manufacturers combined.
Literally.
And there was a point where they almost weren't even a company at all. It's like there's so many instances in life and in business and entrepreneurship and all this shit where all the chips were just seemingly stacked completely in the wrong place.
Man, I feel it. I feel
it's exciting.
Yeah, it really is. I think it just starts with that awareness. Like if you can accept that it's not going to be that sweet at the beginning, then I think you'll set yourself up for success versus getting too giddy about it, like in a way where you think you're just going to crush it can plummet your confidence. So you got to really just kind of try to stay level headed about it the whole time. And so
what's when you
easier
dream,
said than done, but yeah,
when you dream, when you sit there and dream about yourself in the future or even yourself now, I mean, your life, you seem really at like peace with how life is, and it shows, which I think is wonderful. Where do you want to go? Like, what you don't strike me as someone who thinks that certain things aren't possible. So
no.
Considering that nothing is impossible, what is your 5-star life experience? Where do you see yourself taking you and your brand and the people that come along with you?
Yeah, for sure. I have been thinking about where I want to live. I came to the conclusion I definitely want to stay in SoCal. Nice. Like I weighed all going back to the Midwest. I'm from Chicago originally, and I'm like, nah, fuck that. Florida, I've thought about kind of everywhere else, and I'm like, SoCal's where it's at. It's like the weather. This is where my business is predicated. This is where it's built from, and it just feels good to stay somewhere in this area. It doesn't have to be like Santa Monica, but definitely Southern California, I feel like is the place for me. I feel like next is, I don't necessarily want to be a gym owner. I think having, having my own, setup at home.
Used to smoke weed every day.
Yeah. Used to. Yeah. Just a little cold, guys. Yeah. Just a little cold. Spray that Febreze. I think having my own, gym setup to shoot my own content, just right on my phone, or maybe I'll get a videographer again. Continue to scale that way and reach a wider audience online is definitely something I want to do. And, maybe I make my in-person slots, a little bit more exclusive, where I have people come to me and train. So I really do enjoy the personal training. I think the one-on-one growth, or maybe even, when I have a small group of I feel like at the max 3 is like a pretty good group. I can get them all to kind of trickle and go on an upward trend. I really do enjoy that aspect and kind of seeing the mindset shift in them, which is really exciting to me to be like, last week or, a month ago when we started, when bench press got hard, you would quit, but now you're like, all right, let's push for 2 more reps, or, whatever it is. That truly, I really do enjoy that aspect of it. And so I would say continue being a trainer in SoCal, having a little bit more of a personalized setup, and actually get a house down here, because you know how hard that is and how expensive that is. So if I can achieve that, I think that'll be amazing for me. That's kind of what I see next.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard place to beat, man. With the weather,
tough.
Being able to, train indoor, outdoor any time of year, it's nice. It is. We're going to New York in November. I'm actually very curious to see what New York's like. I've never been, so
right on.
I'm just curious to see if that will pull any strings, but definitely SoCal is the place to be.
That KB community is gonna pull you in. I'm gonna see you fucking flipping over your head with the bells, doing some wild shit.
I mean, dude, you really found like a groove though, and I feel like there's people out there. The whole Instagram community thing really shows it. Like, there's clearly thousands, literally thousands. Well, for on their account, like 200,000 people that are doing this, that are interested in it, and that is one of the special things. I feel like there's a lot of things about social media that can be perceived as negative, but one of the cool things is that you can connect with people all around the world that share similar interests, visually or through text or messaging or whatever, and you realize that like there's a lot of JTs out there who move this way and train this way, that are motivated this way, that identify with the same cool principles and all this kind of stuff. So that part of it, I think, is really special.
It's really cool. It made me realize there's really a community for everything. Like,
yep,
there's a community of people that collect Star Wars memorabilia. Like, there's a community for everything. And to be submerged in this one has been really exciting, honestly, to get the support that I've been able to get. Some of the connections I've been able to make, like, it's kind of projected me forward in the overall fitness industry and meeting some, top level coaches that I can learn from. And that all stemmed from literally those days at Equinox, where it was like, what is this dude doing? And now it actually evolved into something.
Would you ever see, like, what about creating I don't know how you would do this, but create like a certification? Are there certifications specific to the type of training that you're doing?
I do a lot of kettlebell flow, but I know there's like pain-free specialists that you can get. They don't necessarily use kettlebells for it.
Gotcha.
So I don't think there's a certification that's like you're kettlebell flow level 1 or something. Right. So maybe that could be a cool thing that I start up one day. I wouldn't put it past me. So
there's another place where, like, you get the website going, you build community within the website, you have members or subscribers or people that are involved with it, and then eventually the products can grow far beyond a program. Programs are a great place to start because you're well versed in it, you can design it, people can implement them, they can see results from doing them. But then down the road, as your business grows, your brand grows, then there's other avenues and ways that you can go about generating income and more importantly, supporting the community that's part of what you're doing. And
absolutely,
you never know what those are going to be. You keep an open mind and a hard work ethic, and you can really do anything.
You're seeing it now, and I'm seeing it on your end as well. So
it's fun and scary, but both of those are the best combination of emotions.
Yeah, you gotta live with both of them. So it's just been really interesting and a really cool past 3 years. So kind of just
what was with the aloe thing?
Oh yeah, I still work with them. So I kind of do like some one-off modeling things with them, and they put a ton of money into their online marketing. And so any of these events they got X, Y, and Z celebrity there, and then I'm there with bringing my videographer. Then it's like a whole like content thing centered around aloe. And so I still work with them, but it's kind of more on like one-off photo shoots and stuff like that. Now that I have an ab, you can see. Right. So now companies are like,
did you like
shooting our stuff?
How much did you change in your diet? And how much of this is okay? So it was a lot of this was dietary.
Yeah.
How about this? Just shoot out like what changed, your numbers of what changed, so that people can understand like the transformation that we're talking about here.
Yeah. So meeting Abe about 3 years ago was 260. Today I'm about 210. I've fluctuated between 210 and like 215, so right around there. Yeah. The first maybe 10, 15 pounds literally stemmed from not trying to eat like a ball player anymore. And I'm like, I don't really need to eat this much anymore. And so that 10, 15 pounds, that also didn't come off that fast, because you know how the days are at Equinox. We got 8, 9 clients. I'm popping down, I'm getting an acai bowl, I'm getting an energy drink. After 2 more sessions, I'm like, well, I still got to be here.
Yep.
Going downstairs to get an acai bowl,
energy drink.
So then you keep running it back.
They just see the hair like bobbing down the stairs, and they're making it already. They're like, here comes an acai bowl.
Extra granola, we got you, dude. Like $13. So I would say, while playing ball, I was so focused on putting on mass and gaining weight. There was not even a thought of looking at a label. It was like, just eat, like be a monster kind of. And so I realized I shouldn't do that anymore. Now that I'm not competing. And so I started cutting out a lot of sugars. So it went from drinking juice all the time, and I mean like the sugary juice, like Hawaiian Punch juice, like all the juice, sugary shit. Yeah,
Juice comes from fruit.
yeah, it's not juice. That's Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
All the Kool-Aid flavors, man. I had it all. Oreos. I was eating fucking everything, and so I started thinking about like cutting down on sugar specifically, because when you have that much, just nothing really good comes out of that, like in any regard.
Yep.
And so I started really cutting down on the sugar and thinking about how can I get natural sugar in my body. And I started eating a lot more fruit, drinking a lot more water. The acai bowl was a good place to start because even though that's pretty sugary from the Earth Bar, at least it was like fruit and granola versus like a pack of whatever, And so I would say that was like the first progression. And then the second half, I really dialed in on definitely portion size, and not trying to eat until I'm like ridiculously full, which I was used to. It was now I can start eating less and I'm full, and now I can stop. And so that's like a different switch to turn off, but finally turned that one off and got a bigger hang of that. And so that left me around like 230. And so even with all the kettlebell flowing I was doing, which was daily, and I was lifting during that time, still doing some bodybuilding on the side. I was kind of stuck at 230, and just kind of hovered right around there. And then you have quarantine, boosted all the way back up to 250.
Real talk.
250.
Damn.
And so me and my girl were like, shit, we feel a little heavier. Like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So she orders a scale, and I step on there. I'm like, man, fuck this. Like, this is not real. So it reached 250. I'm like, no way. And so, during that initial lockdown, we had wine all the time. And I'm like, let me get these gummy worms real quick. Like, there's nothing to do. And so I started eating all that bullcrap sugar again. And there you go, 20 pounds on that quickly. That's how fast.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward, I started getting our diet a little bit more on track. We definitely both in the same household started cooking a lot more. Yeah. And so that kind of brought me back down to around the 230 range. And then this next part is actually, so I got up to around 225, 230, moving regularly, started running a little bit more. So the Santa Monica, the incline?
Yeah.
I started implementing that. Wasn't really doing all that much cardio. So even though I do get the conditioning kettlebell flowing, it's still not the same as like really moving.
When you get
right, it's just not the same. And so I started doing a lot of that. That brought me to around 225. And so these last 10 pounds to get from like 225 to 220 was we ordered a meal prep service. So we had the lunches prepared. We knew exactly how much protein, how many calories we had. I went into fasting, so I wasn't really eating breakfast. I will say with the fasting, I can't really fast anymore. Now I kind of need the energy in the morning, like at least some carb. So I kind of hit the wall with fasting. That's something to keep in mind if anyone's watching. I did the fasting for about, I would say 8 months, and that it definitely worked in regards to losing a little bit more weight. So I was doing that. We had the meal prep service, and then we would have cooked dinner for most of the week. And so we would Uber Eats a couple times a week, maybe 1 or 2 times a week. But then we were still going out to eat on the weekend. So it was like, dude, even though I've lost all this weight, I still was like putting in such a big surplus on the weekend. You go to a Mexican restaurant, you're gonna have a margarita. And so we both hit like a stalemate where, yes, we were eating pretty good, but it was like on the weekend, it's like we put it all back on. And so
it's crazy, dude. When you think about that, like, I always try to do this math with clients, and this is like something that, I mean, Lauren and I do this too, right? We eat extremely well during the week. On the weekends, now it's kind of like one meal will be whatever. But
right,
if you're someone who's trying to go through like a weight loss transformation, and you're, let's say, just for the sake of the argument, you're perfect Monday through Friday, and every Friday night, Saturday night, you blow it out. That's 2 days every week. That's 8 days every month. That's 3 months every year. 3 months every year. Imagine eating Oreos for 3 months straight every year. Like,
literally,
it feels further away from each other because of the days in between and because of how hard you're physically working to make the right choices. But that's 8 days a month, bro. That's a week plus a day every month.
I'm gonna steal that, by the way. That's a good.
It's easy math, right? Like, do everything right 70% of the time. It's not gonna work.
Exactly. Yeah, it did not work, and so I hit mid 220s and kept doing that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I wasn't even unhappy with my body. I felt like I was in good shape, but I'm like, I still want to get like a little bit leaner. And so what actually happened, so we started cutting out the Uber Eats. We're like, all right, we're not going to Uber Eats at all. Like, we're like, let's try to go some weeks without ordering anything. We would do that. And then at night, me and her would be like kind of hungry after dinner since we didn't have that many calories throughout the day. And then we'd have a bowl of fruit. And even though that's still a better option, that's still kind of a lot of sugar to have at night. If you're like apple, grapes, banana, like all that. And so we still were kind of stalemated. And so, yes, that's still going to be a way better option than ordering ice cream, of course. But so we still kind of stalemated. So I'm still playing around 220. And then I got to be honest, this next 5 pounds was actually the result of going to Mexico. So really? I knocked up. So I was right around 220. Yeah. We went to Mexico on a movement retreat, and it was amazing. My boy Nate Mesmer, shout out my boy Nate. He set it up, and we got some awesome coaches to come together. We all go to Sayulita, Mexico. Yeah, 4 days. Have a great time. They're teaching flow, and it could have been something I ate or drank. We try not to drink the water. You always get advised, don't drink the water. And so we felt like we did pretty good on that. So the last day on the trip, Maxie gets sick. She's like, I just don't feel good, going to the bathroom a bunch. But in 2 days, she's like, all right, I feel all right. And so the whole trip, I'm not sick at all. And so it's not till 5 days later that I get a pain kind of on my pancreas. I'm like, whoa, this is weird. And so I had just got done eating, and I'm like, maybe I'm just like full or something. And so I'm like, let me just drink some water. 20 more minutes, I'm in so much pain that I literally fall to my knees. I have a high pain tolerance. I've played ball. I got
I was gonna say,
I had a high pain tolerance. I'm like, I can take that. It hurt so bad where I fell to my knees and curled up. Like I was like, oh my God, like I don't know what this is. Yeah. So I started Googling. I know my pancreas is up there, and I'm like, what is this? First thing that comes up, pancreatic cancer. I'm
for
like,
sure.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's like you're dead.
I'm dying for sure. Like I legit was like, I don't know what's about to happen. And so the pain, this is like 30 minutes of antagonizing pain, like probably one of the worst pains I've ever had in my life. I kind of get to manage it, get on the couch, and practically sleep the rest of the day. So this is like 4 p.m., just kind of sleep it all the way off. In the morning, I'm like, okay, this is better, not hurting there. But then I'm really bloated. I'm like, fuck, like, what is this? And so Maxie's on a work trip. I got to drop her off at the airport to go to Boston. So I drop her off, come back. I'm like, oh my God, I feel horrible. My stomach's huge. It looks like I'm pregnant at this point.
Damn.
Like it's swollen. And I'm like, fuck, like, I don't know what this is. And I go to the bathroom, and probably TMI, but you guys need to know this. It's blood out of both ends. So mouth and blood. And I'm like, oh shit. Like now I'm really scared. So now I'm like, fuck, I don't know what's gonna happen. Literally was like, I'm about to die. And my mom has to drive from Hawthorne. I'm like, you got to pick me up. Like, we got to go to the ER
now ASAP.
And so I'm like, oh shit. And so we get to UCLA, and I get a test, and it turns out I have a parasite. And they're like, oh yeah, your blood test came back. You got this sugar bug. I'm like, the fuck is a sugar bug? Like, I thought he said sugar at first, like sugar bug. I'm like, I haven't been eating.
Like, dude, I've been trying.
I'm like, it's only been fruit. That's it.
I've not even eaten Oreos.
Exactly. I haven't had a cookie in a year.
Yeah.
I'm like, the hell's a sugar bug? And he's like, well, this is a result of E. coli. I'm like, oh God, I got fucking E. coli. And so I get the antibiotics for that. Nothing's really happening. Doesn't really help anything. Have to go back to the ER, and I got to get all these different scans and shit done. And the coli I've gotten so infected on my large intestine that it turned into like acute colitis. So I had like a small case of colitis, and they don't tell you it's acute right away because they don't know. And they're like, oh, you have colitis. And I'm like, start doing my own research. I'm like, damn, I got to live with this? Because, I know a couple of people with ulcerative colitis, and I'm like, this sucks. And so it turns out it was more an acute case because it was from an infection.
Yeah.
And so I go through all that and all this medicine, can't do shit for another week. And I came out of that, and I was 215 because I couldn't eat anything. And so now,
if you're going through a weight loss journey,
go to Mexico. go to Mexico.
You want to ditch those last tough 5 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. Have a glass of water with ice. You're good. Yeah, dog. So I was hovering around 220, and definitely felt good, but I know for sure that last 5 was because I got sick, for sure. But I've dropped down to 208 since then. Mm-hmm. And so now we don't order. We can go 7 days out of the week without ordering out. We cook everything now.
Dude, it is.
And so to maintain this now, we've got the diet dialed all the way.
Well, but this is something that's so important. Like, it isn't a diet. What you guys are doing now, this is healthy eating. This is what quality, like weekly quality homemade nutrition. That's what it is. Diets are all that. It's those failed attempts to do some crazy shit to get a small result that you can't maintain it
for a small amount of time.
And like, now you guys are finding that, like, okay, what happens when you cook meals versus getting them out? You control what goes into them.
Absolutely.
Right? So you watch yourself put the salt in, you watch yourself put the butter in the pan, whatever those things are, you naturally make better choices around it. You control the quantity. If you get food from Uber Eats, right, and you get a Thai food, it's a big ass fucking bowl of Thai food, you don't want to waste it because you ordered it and it's not going to be good the next day. So
because it was $80 to get to you.
Right. So you smash it all the time. But when you make food at home, you can make it, but you can put half of it away and it's going to be good the next day. It's good quality. Exactly. It's like, and dude, I mean, this is shout out to Maxie, but like it is incredible. And you guys are showing this, like the value of having someone in it with you, like having a partner that supports that stuff, that is like, cool. Okay. We're not going to order. I'm down. What's our plan B? What are we going to do? How are we going to do? Like,
that's very real. That's huge. Very real. Yeah. Yeah. That's
I thank myself every day that Lauren is like in line with this. Like I couldn't imagine if that was if you weren't aligned on like nutrition, that's a big part of your life. That's you eat 3 times a day. You're constantly thinking about food.
Literally. Yeah. That's a great point. I think having her on the journey with me and seeing all the progress she's made is also increasingly inspiring to me, because I'm like, I live with her on a day-to-day basis, and she really went next level with it, because now she's prepping for her first amateur boxing fight. And so, you gotta make weight. Yeah, I know.
Damn, Maxie. That's shit, I gotta have Maxie on here. That's fucking badass. Hell yeah.
Babe, you're next. Damn. Yeah, she's been doing that. And so she's been in amazing cardio shape.
Yeah.
And she's got big muscles on her legs. And so I'm telling her a lot of the weight's probably held on your lower body. Like, you got big quads, like you got strong legs, and
pack some punch power though with the hips.
Big
knock someone out.
Big time. And so I'm like, you look great, but with boxing, it's not really about how you look. Like, we see Tyson Fury, we see all these boxers, like you do have to hit the weight. And so it was like, even though she felt good and she looked really good, we had to find a way to lose the weight, like we really did. And so
she's has a match coming up in the future, or it happened?
In the future.
Gotcha. So it'll be like like sanctioned amateur battle. Like, she's gonna fight someone.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I didn't know amateur fights were so short. They're like 3 3 rounds for 2 minutes or something. So it's like,
it's
a quick little bout.
You know what though? The crazy
But
shit
you got to
about
go
that,
all out.
yeah, is that you're not dancing around for 2 minutes. You're trying
No, you can't.
A couple of guys at the jiu-jitsu gym that I train at, we also have like a Muay Thai component. And so a couple of the guys have done Muay Thai kickboxing matches, but it's like called point fighting. So they have headgear, you have pads on your shins, you have 16-ounce gloves. So you're fully padded up. But I think it's 2-3 minute rounds is a match. But if you go watch these point matches online, the rules are you can't strike to knockout. That's like, you're not supposed to hit to KO the person. They'll actually knock you a point. But of all the rules that they don't pay attention to, that's like number one. So the bell hits, dude, and these guys, it's like a flurry of just kicks, knees, and punches constant because such a short amount of time.
Oh my God.
She's going to go
stand
toe to toe. She'll be toe to toe. And when they ring the bell, you don't have that much time to accomplish your goal. So you got to knock them out.
Yeah. You got to be aggressive. You got to be aggressive.
Have you been boxing with her at all?
Yeah. So there's a new gym that opened up by us. It's called Fighter. It's right on the corner of it's like 5th in Colorado, right by the Marriott right there. Yep. And so shout out my guy, Josh. He started that gym. He's the owner, really dope dude. And they have these group classes that I'll go to on Saturday. And, I thought I was going to be a beast in boxing for the reason of I do a lot of rotational work. Like I do a lot of rotational kettlebell, rotational this. I threw the discus in high school, know how to use my hips and rotate. So I'm like, I'm about to knock somebody's head off in here. That's not how it is on the mitts.
Classic.
That's not how it is on the mitts.
That's not how it is anywhere in combat sports.
That's not how it is at all. And so I learned really quickly that, all this supple leopard movement that I'm doing and flow is still different from this. And so I had to really learn to relax and stand up a little bit taller and not aim for power. And so I got such a big respect now for all combat sports that I realize how technical it really is.
This is
versus before I'm like, oh, they're just fucking duking it out. It's not. It's very strategic.
The biggest misconception, especially if you have, straight up, if you have an ego from sports that you used to play, right? This is like, look, this happened to me. But when I got into jiu-jitsu, now it's been, I don't know, just over 2 years or so. And when I very first did it, I got a Groupon to go to We're Doomed Combat in Venice. And I walked in there and they had, you put on the gi to have us fall on the ground, do some stuff. And I was like, all right, whatever. And at the end, this guy came up to me. He was like, this guy, Lalo, he still trains there. And he's like a shorter dude. And he goes, hey man, you look pretty athletic. Do you want to stick around and spar? And in my head, I go, the fuck I do? I'm going to whoop all your guys' ass. Literally, that's what I thought. I was like, I'm a trainer. I'm strong. I'm athletic. I used to ski. I'm going to run circles around these guys. So I was like, sure, I'll do that. This dude put a 15-minute clinic on me, just destroyed me. Dude, he tapped me out shy of 20 times. It was embarrassing. And I literally walked out of there with my tail between my legs. And I was like, what the fuck just happened to me?
You're like, that was different.
And I was like, whatever happened in there, that is good for me. I need to do this. And I've been hooked, but it's so many times we see people come in, they're either strong or big, or they got that, that charisma about them. And then you get
swagger,
and you just get dominated. You get dominated by technique and by skill and placement and timing. And you can't learn that.
Oh my God. Dude, I felt all of it. Just hitting the mitts for a minute and a half, gassed one time. Yep. I'm like, oh my, I didn't know it was so hard to do a 1-1-2.
Well, yeah, then the coordination. Have you had a chance to spar with anyone lightly?
No, I haven't. I would do it one day though. I feel like I'd be willing to try.
Right. Because then if the
got
shit
ugly.
It's crazy because you go in there and the very first time that I sparred Muay Thai was with Steve Cazzola, who used to fight in Bellator. He's our Muay Thai instructor. Dope. And all the relaxation you're talking about, all that chilling out and that just trying to stay loose in your shoulders and everything you learn when you're practicing, the second that you're actually going to get hit, you're right back to that, like, fuck.
Right.
And then all they have to do is fuck with you. So they hit you. And what happens when you get hit? You get pissed off. And so you react. God. And he hit me with, like, I mean, dude, it had to be no more than 10% of his power. I mean, literally, It was like a love tap from him in my liver. And I went straight to the ground. It was just like instantly, like he hit me, I went right to the floor. God. And I was like,
oh my God.
It's just crazy. Like, you think it's so technical. Like you said, here I am moving, rotating, using my hips. I was the same way. I was like, it'll be easy for me to generate power in kickboxing because I do swings all day. Exactly. But then you change an element or you switch something up and it's like, what is going on here, dude?
Yeah, now you got to hit a moving target. I'm like, oh, this is different than what I thought.
Yeah.
Than what I thought. Yeah. I was real humbled. And so you go on her page, like, she's gotten so good. I'm like,
that's so rad, man.
God. And the more and more weight she loses, like, the quicker I can see her moving, and it's just super dope. And so she sparred with really a couple guys and is like, has gotten popped. I'm like, who popped you? Like, I'm sparring them next. Me and Zeus are coming in. Me and Zeus are coming in.
I love it, dude.
Yeah, she's got popped a couple times, but she's getting really good and has won some. So now she's sparred a bunch, and now she's winning a bunch of rounds, and just super proud of her. Like, that's hard work to.
Well, they say iron sharpens iron. You know, like you're not going to get better at hitting people if you're not in there, you know, giving licks and taking licks. So that is so rad. Hats off to her. That's super badass. That's really a big undertaking.
It really is. It really is. So she's really dialed in with the diet and not really diet, but with the nutrition. Yeah. And I would say this next level that I've taken also definitely stems from her because she cooks it all.
Yeah.
She cooks it all. So it used to be like if I get home before her, I would cook, which I love cooking, but I wasn't cooking like the healthiest of all the time.
Right.
And then, you know, now that she's cooking, now I'm super lean. And so I couldn't even gain weight if I wanted to now, eating what she makes. So
you guys are a power couple. It's awesome to see. I mean, just even watching your relationship develop from a distance, you guys seem like you're super in line. You're taking care of each other's health and motivating each other. It's really special to see that. I think that the fitness industry is a special place in that it does cultivate those really like healthy relationships in some regards. And
definitely.
Yeah, you guys seem stoked, man. I want to come meet Zeus and introduce the dogs, dude.
Oh, dude, welcome whenever, dude. You already know.
Well,
we're on 3rd in California, so we're right down the street from Equinox.
Now I'm in San Diego.
Oh, dude, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
That's
true. I'm a bit of ways, but JT, I want to be respectful of your time, but I also want to give you a moment to like let people know, you know, where can they find you? How can they reach out to you? Where can they message you? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say right now I definitely want to expand over to YouTube and probably TikTok and play with some other stuff just to get more of my content out there. But I'm most active on Instagram, so you can get me at JT_Zen. I got my website linked in the bio, which is keepitzen.co, which is where you'll find my programs. And you'll also find my email there. So I got the email button. That one's a business email, so yours won't get lost. I'll definitely respond on that one. And don't hesitate to reach out. I love what I do, so I'm happy to help anyone that's got any questions.
I love that. I love the attitude. You're awesome, dude. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here, man. It's been awesome. We'll do it again in the future.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah.